time we get to see Snorlax on the stream. I mean, this matchup can be quite an interesting one. I think it can be pretty even at times. Just depends on how both sides set up.
Yeah, I think we've got all two bosses orders in the prizes there for Antoine, and then for Leyton. Nothing. Oh, did prize the Rotom actually? Does only play one. I think did they prize their heavy ball there? As it is our win and in action here for both players. Oopsie daisy. That oh, what's that Pokemon called again? I forgot. Morpeko. I forgot the name. That is stuck right there.
Morpeko would definitely be an angry form after you said that.
Yeah, he would. But that is stuck in the active now. Snorlax block means that Morpeko cannot retreat, and let's see what Leyton can do.
Okay, and as we mentioned, this can be a fairly even matchup. You know, we've got the lower switch outs, but still some switch outs for the Roaring Moon. And of course, you know, the knockout damage from a Roaring Moon, 220 damage is perfect for knocking out pretty much everything on the field. So the numbers do work out, but of course, it can very quickly get out of control for a Snorlax player if you start to realize that the knockouts aren't coming. So this is where the matchup is very much even until we get halfway through, then we start to realize which way it's going, right?
Yeah, it could, honestly. The thing about Snorlax is it might seem like, oh, you know, they're out of it or they've lost, but then all of a sudden, Counter Catcher, Temple of Sinnoh, and then Pokemon can get stuck. Now, Leyton did prize that Rotom V, but has actually got access to that Hisuian Heavy Ball, so we'll be able to liberate that. Obviously, that instant charge is how the Snorlax decks like to draw cards. Then you end your turn and take 3 cards from the top of your deck.
Got the Hisuian Heavy Ball off the Arva and had a Nest Ball in hand for the second Snorlax, so in a good position here. Also love the ability to check your prize cards with that Heavy Ball. Definitely saves a job.
Especially in a deck like Snorlax where you're not taking any prize cards, so it'd be nice to know what's in there because you ain't going to be taking them anytime soon.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the 2 bosses orders for Antoine could be huge because weirdly, having a boss's orders can be a way of getting out of the Snorlax stall. If you can get that Rotom into the active, you can then retreat. So boss's orders are an important card that has been prized, and an escape rope was prized.
Yeah, and worth mentioning, the attack on that Morpeko really isn't very helpful. For 2 energy, you do 70 damage, which sounds good on paper, but it forces you to move 2 dark energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench. You will not be able to just keep announcing Energizer Wheel. Well, I mean, you can, but you have to move the energy off. It looks like Antoine is just going to attach energy and pass.
Okay, and this is going to be typical gameplay here. The Snorlax setting up, and unfortunately for Antoine, nothing in those starting hands to really get things going.
And we do see that Erica's Invitation going to grab that Mew EX, pop it on the bench, and then force it into the active.
Yep, and the knowledge as well. Knowledge gained around the hand. There was an emergency jelly in there, which was interesting. Emergency jelly, a new addition to Roaring Moon that's been quite valuable as a way to get the Roaring Moon out of range of things like Cramorant or Sableye after taking a Frenzy Gouging knockout in the Giratina matchup.
Yeah, but probably won't be seeing the emergency jelly being used in this game because I don't think, well, I guess it could actually be taking damage from a Frenzy Gouging, but chances are Snorlax will not be doing damage to Roaring Moon, as Leyton is going to start the turn off there by playing an Arven, grabbing a Bravery Charm as well. Sometimes,
though, with the Roaring Moon, you don't mind knocking yourself out, because if you do, then you're putting the prize cards from Leyton's area into their hand. So then that would mean potentially things like Counter Catcher might not be in range.
Yeah.
Could also mean that a INO would disrupt them a bit more. So it can actually be a bit of a benefit.
Now, it's worth noting that this Mew EX can attack, right, eventually. Genome hacking, choosing one of your opponent's active attacks and use it as this attack. And the Snorlax attack collapsed, does 150, and then puts the Pokemon to sleep. So, I mean, it's usable, though. I mean,
yeah, it's a viable option. If you get rid of the Bravery Charm, it does knock it out.
It does, funnily enough. So, could be something worth keeping an eye on there.
Yeah, and then also we mentioned about the boss's orders in the situation here with Mew EX in that active spot. If you boss up the Rotom V, you'd have that free retreat into the next attacker. But yeah, of course, it's a bit of a slower game here. When we see the Snorlax stall, it will tend to go a little bit slower.
Yep.
But definitely a deck we have to respect. You know, Gdansk regional champion Wukash was playing Snorlax stall, and with Charizard being 17% of the meta, it's definitely the pick to counter the most popular deck. So it's just interesting as to whether it can deal with the Roaring Moon here.
I think it even had a 9th place finish at Charlotte, I'd like to say, via Calvin Connor, or at least 10th place. Did really well there. So it is a deck that we do have to keep on the radar, as we're going to see a Poké Gear being played there from Leyton with that Misfortune Sisters. Then you look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck and you can discard any item. So in ideal world, you'd like to be getting rid of switching cards. But, I mean, to be fair, discarding items before you can let your opponent use them is always, I mean, most of the time, very strong.
Yeah, the only deck you'd ever see Misfortune Sisters in, really. You know, it's not a very consistent way to discard items, but when you're playing across lots of turns with Snorlax Stall, you do get the ability to discard those important switch cards and start to mill the deck of other resources. And so that's why we're not seeing Antoine play through a lot of their deck. They're trying to keep it nice and thick so that all of those good cards are safe amongst the others.
And it could be worth noting, actually, you know, if you have tuned into the stream and you're not 100% sure as to why Leyton isn't attacking, this Snorlax deck doesn't want to take prizes to win. Instead, it's going to try and run their opponent out of resources, because in Pokemon, if you start your turn and you cannot draw a card from the top of your deck, you instantly lose. So Leyton will be trying to win via that win condition. So we'll be looking to lock Antoine's Pokemon in the active via that Snorlax, so that block ability, meaning that when Snorlax is in the active, your opponent's active cannot retreat.
So important to note here, we mentioned about those prize cards.
Yeah.
In Antoine's list, there is 1 switch card, 1 escape rope, and 2 boss, which would be the only ways to get out of this, and of which two boss and an escape rope are both in the prize cards.
Goodness.
So if that switch card gets discarded through a Misfortune Sisters, for example, that would be all of the resources currently available to Antoine to be gone. But of course, like you said, the Mew is a potential attacker if needed.
And I think at that point, once you've worked out what you've prized, if you're Antoine, you see that switch card getting discarded, would you consider conceding at that point?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this stage, looking for a way to get rid of the tool to try and potentially use.
True.
There's no lost vacuum, so if you're going to be using the Mew EX here to attack into that Snorlax, it's not going to be possible. But what was discarded off that? Oh, this Misfortune Sisters was found off of a Poké Gear, was it?
Yes, so we haven't seen it being played yet. Worth noting, the last Misfortune Sisters did get an Earthen Vessel and an Ultra Ball. That's why they're at the top of the discard pile there for Antoine. I wonder if Leyton will be playing this. Right, are we going to see that switch card? Oh my goodness, top 5 cards, Mike. Show us what they are, Leyton. I see Trekking Shoes, I see Ultra Ball. Oh,
what's that last
card?
Oh,
Dark Patch.
You know, there's a lot of items in this deck. It's a Pokestop-based deck, so you often see a pretty high count of items to be able to work with that. You know, the Earthen Vessel, Energy Switch, Dark Patch, all of the Ball Search.
Yep. Sometimes Cross Switcher as well in Roaring Moon. Not something you would be surprised to see. Antoine is not playing those, but yeah, there's Misfortune Sisters. You know, if you can say, if it said discard top 3 card your opponent's deck, you'd be quite happy with that, and that's what Leyton has essentially just done there. So Misfortune Sisters coming in the clutch, as we are most likely now going to see that instant charge for the top 3 cards.
Okay, so a chance now to potentially reset the hand, and maybe that's part of the plan here, is only to start attacking once you can disrupt the hand, but it does seem to be there. Just turning to the left with that 150 damage. And we'll be waking up from that sleep.
Okay, so that means Antoine will be able to start getting on the board next turn. So in case you don't know, that Mew EX just used its attack Genome Hack, which lets you use one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks as this attack, copied sleep, doing 150 damage. We are going to see another Misfortune Sisters though, Mike. What do we see?
Oh, is that an Energy Switch and a Battle VIP pass, and that's it?
It was. Can't get rid of the Forest Hill Stone now, as tools do have their own classification. No longer items.
Okay, so this is very much in Leyton's control, and of course, once the knockout does happen, if it does happen, it would mean that the prize cards would be taken, potentially the escape rope taken there, and that would be huge.
It would be, but then Leyton has put on a luxurious cape on that Snorlax. The luxurious Snorlax has an extra 100 HP. It's giving it, what, 250 HP in total, but it would give up 2 prize cards if it's KO'd.
And with that Snorlax on the bench, it's very safe because Boss's Orders both in the prize card. So, yeah, these 3 cards being prized for Antoine is going to be really tough to come into this matchup.
I wonder if Leyton's going to fire off that Erica's invitation there. I mean, that hand is pretty big there for Antoine. It'd be nice to sort of get something else inactive that cannot attack, because this move, EX, if it keeps waking up, it's going to deal 150 damage a turn. So let's see what Leyton does. Well, we're going to see a boss orders instead into the Roaring Moon. I guess that's as good as an Erica's invitation. And then we're probably going to just see the instant charge.
Okay, but with Professor Siler's Vitality and an attachment, is there any energy in the discard? I don't know if there is.
I don't think there is. No, we're just going to see a pass back over to Leyton. That Misfortune Sisters. Are we going to see that switch card, everybody? Top 5 cards, a Dark Patch.
Oh, no, Dark Patch and an Ultra Ball.
Tell you what, those Ultra Ball have been flying out of the deck there. I think every Ultra Ball that's been, well, quote-unquote, played in the discard pile has been discarded by Leyton.
Yeah, so the access to those Misfortune Sisters is going to be key here for Leyton.
And yeah, worth noting, if you're probably thinking, well, if Leyton's going to keep ending the turn via instant charge, isn't he going to deck himself out? Leyton does play a Pidgeot V, has that ability, Vanishing Wings, that lets you, as long as it's on your bench, you can put it to the bottom of your deck, meaning you can essentially never deck out.
Yeah, and then there's also some fun stuff with Pal Pads and Silene to get those supporters back, and Team Yell Cheer.
Team Yell Cheer, yep.
So we'll see if those come into play a little bit later on. But yeah, at this stage, Leyton is almost in somewhat of a loop to be able to do exactly what they want whenever they want. But there is the INO and Judge for Antoine that could come in at any moment to reset that hand. And I think that's the point where getting aggressive and starting to take those knockouts will be huge.
Yeah, I think we are going to see, the Giacomo there, discarding a special energy. Well, it discards one special energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon. Antoine only had that gift energy, so that will be discarded as well.
Wow, so we're seeing this go right down to the final few cards for Leyton. Has all the options available. This is where the skill of Snorlax comes in. You know, you have so many options and choosing the correct option each turn. Lots of different supporters with different effects. Really leaning into those Misfortune Sisters on this occasion. That's going to be a Dark Patch and a Pal Pad. And this way, getting rid of those useful resources, hoping to find any of those switch cards.
Getting rid of that Power Pack actually be really impactful. If Antoine was to ever liberate the boss's orders, Power Pack would have been nice to try and reuse them multiple times, but that's not going to be an option. As Antoine, let's see what
Energy Switch is also viable here to get that Roaring Moon going.
Doesn't seem to be in the hand, though. I wonder if Leyton's going to play that Erica's turn. They are. Let's see. Is there a Pokemon in there? There's a... Oh, goodness. Oh, whoa. There's multiple, but I think the Roaring Moon is the one to take there, since that Moltres can actually attach energy to itself via those Dire Flame Wings ability. Although there is no energy in the discard pile, actually.
I think that's why they're checking, yeah. Leyton just making sure.
Oh, actually... Oh, was that a fail? Oh, no, it's going to go for a Moltres, a Galarian Moltres.
I think you can fail at Erica's invitation. I think you have to if you find a Pokemon.
Fair enough. As we do see that Moltres going into the act, they're beautiful, stunning card, but not really what you want to have right now. Yeah,
we'll just be standing there looking stunning and not doing much more.
Yeah, no, you are correct.
God, this is intricate, because you do wonder at this point how much closer this would be if the prize cards were different, you know?
Yeah.
Because that boss onto the Rotom, knocking out a Rotom would be huge.
And here we're going to start seeing the Silene loop that you mentioned. So Silene lets you flip 2 coins. For each head, you can grab a card from your discard pile, pop it to the straight top of your deck. But I think we saw a double tails.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
I mean, if you get unlucky enough, there is a way that you can fail your loop.
Yeah.
You can continue not decking out with the Pidgeot V, but there is a world where you can fail multiple Silene flips with the Pal Pads and not get the resources back that you need.
You are correct, as we do see the Vanishing Winds there being used from that Pidgeot, so it's going to put itself back into the deck, so Leyton can have another stab with the Silene or T-Mail's Cheer eventually. Let's see what Antoine can do. We're going to attach a Forest Seal Stone, which is going to be live actually, so we'll be able to use that Star Alchemy. We see that switch card.
Okay, and then going to be going for the genome hacking.
And the Judge. Okay, here we go then, Mike. This is what Antoine needed to do. Try and take a KO and reduce Leyton's hand. Judge forcing both players to have a 4-card hand.
Exactly, and needing to use that Mew, because it's the only thing on the board that can knock out this Snorlax now. 120 hit points. Trying to use that Morpeko, it would be just 10 short of the knockout on the Snorlax here. So Antoine patiently waiting for the right turn to initiate that first prize card.
I think that's what you have to do against control decks. You have to, you know, don't get too hasty. Don't start burning resources. You know, one thing about control, you will have time to draw into your options. So Antoine, you know, playing it nice and cool there. And now this is going to be the swing turn. We're going to see Genome Hack to copy, what's the attack called? And that collapse to take a KO. Will not wake up that Mew EX. Oh,
not quite the escape rope there, and you can see those 2 boss's orders at the top. And as you mentioned, with the PAL pad being removed by Misfortune Sister, that judge will not be retainable afterwards. The INO is the only other option, which isn't as disruptive in this matchup. So we'll see how this goes. But the Rotom's still around, and without the boss's orders or the escape rope, it's not going to be an option.
This
so
could be an impactful flip here. The Mew does wake up.
Okay, but then of course the resetting of the active is always going to be possible for Leyton. There's always going to be ways to switch card out, Penny, and so it takes a lot to knock out 6 Snorlax in a game.
It really does, especially if they have, you know, Bravery Charms or Luxurious Cape as well. We're going to see a future ancient boost to energy capture on that Roaring Moon. Looks like Antoine might be debating. Ooh, going to play research. Interesting. Going to get a fresh new hand of 7.
Yeah, we'll see what's in there. Anything useful? I think energy attachments at this point is the key, right?
Yeah. I mean, how many energy do they play? 8 basic dark and 1 gift. We've seen the gift already get discarded. So.
There's 2 more energy in theory.
Yeah, 1, 2,
floating
3.
about in the deck somewhere.
As we are going to see the Genome Hack into collapse, and that is not a sleepy Mew, as it's going to immediately wake up. What does Leyton actually have in their hand?
Yeah, that Mew with a bit of insomnia doesn't really want to stay asleep very long.
It does not. That Genome Hack coming in useful. We're going to see an Echoing Horn to put Squawkabilly. Oh, did that hit the discard pile off the research?
Must have done, yeah.
It must have done.
I mean, at this point, there's so many liabilities on the bench anyway that Squawkabilly is just another one.
But it has going to get counter cash into the active, and it cannot retreat, obviously, via block. I'm going to see Penny to remove that damage. Going to promote the next Snorlax, removing all that damage from play. And Leyton saying, right, you've had your time now. Try and maneuver this Squawkabilly.
I mean, now, as we mentioned, the resources that are available, 2 more boss and an escape rope. All of them are in the prize cards.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, we know that. I mean, what is Antoine's way out of this? I mean, you can attack with a Squawkabilly, right? Motivate does do, I think, is it 20 damage? And attach energy from the discard pile, but 20 damage is not enough.
That's going to be long.
Yes, when these Snorlax have, you know, upwards of 200 HP.
Well, I think this is probably the writing on the wall here for Leyton. So we're going to see whether they carry on and whether they've got the vision that this is going to be pretty tough. For you guys at home, you're going to be aware that it's going to be pretty tricky at this point. But, of course, there's no reason not to. And one of the big things in the Snorlax matchup that is underrated is playing out the first game longer to see what's in the deck.
Okay,
you know, it's always good to see if there's any cards that might be important in the matchup that you're unaware of, just to kind of keep digging, find those options. And, you know, if by chance they happen to have a supporter or a stadium that you're unaware of this game, it will then be knowledge going into the next one. So whilst it might not be a winnable game at this point, it will help you in the next. Yeah,
that's a great point. Yeah, these control decks can have a whole multitude of extra cards that you might not be aware of. So it says scouting out the list could be really beneficial there. Looks like we do see an owner being played there. I wonder how the owner treated Antoine. Can't quite consult the hand too. I think it's debate whether to play a trekking shoes or not. Then you look at the top card of your deck if you like it. Put it in your hand. If you don't, discard it and take the next one.
I seem to like it.
Yeah, must have been a good one. But I'm not. What? I'm just trying to think. What is Antoine's? Is it just going to be attacking with motivate? I think it might be.
How motivational?
Well, it's going to have to be a very motivational Squawkabilly if it's going to KO that Snorlax, let me tell you.
Long since been able to squawk and seize that Squawkabilly.
Squawk and seize is a pipe dream right now, maybe in game 2. It looks like we are going to see the Team Yells cheer, letting you shuffle in any 3 supporters from your discard pile back into your deck. And that is one way you can loop those supporters and stop yourself decking out as well.
Yeah, just checking those resources. As we mentioned, this is gaining knowledge right now, gaining information. And I think this is really important for you guys at home who might be watching this. You might be unfamiliar with the matchup. Let's be honest, it's one of the least common good decks that's played at locals because most people aren't capable of playing it to the level that is required at a regional. What we do see is some of these players come out in their droves at regionals who are very good with the deck, and consequently you're seeing what it takes to beat it, what kind of game plan you have to come in. Even if it's unfavorable for you, it is worth playing out that first game and processing what you're up against. And of course, seeing right now how stable it is for Leyton, hopefully you guys are realizing how good this deck is, and you do have to respect it.
You do have to respect it. When I was playing overrated or underrated with Ross in the last round, one of the cards that I had in the list but I didn't manage to get to was Snorlax. Do we think it's overrated or underrated? And I think it is vastly underrated. You don't really hear about many people testing against Snorlax. They probably just don't want to. But, you know, if you don't, fall on you, because it is a metagame force right now.
Is that a card there I see that you're quite a fan of in Leyton's hand?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
My caster prediction, actually. I never thought I'd be seeing it in the Snorlax, but it makes a lot of sense. That Avery letting you discard, forcing your opponent to discard till they have 3 benched Pokemon. Very, very nice indeed. And draw 3 as well, you know. There it is, Avery. Love that geezer. Look at him, majestic in that purple suit. See, me and Avery are quite similar. We like our suits. You know, I haven't quite got the minerals to wear a big top hat like that, but Avery does.
I mean, that's definitely a card that's abnormal in the Snorlax deck. You don't see it all the time, and I guess it's there for when people try and fill out their bench with cards that are fine.
Yep.
And then as soon as you put that Avery down, you can then use an Echoing Horn to get something else onto the bench, or an Erica's Invitation later turns.
Tell you what, that's 2 failed Misfortune Sisters there from Leyton. So
not much left.
All the items have been filtered out rather nicely. It looks like Antoine is just going to keep up that motivate onslaught, as it were. Motivate, and just hope that Leyton, you know, doesn't have a way to remove this damage. I mean, there's plenty of ways for them to do it, but it's going to hope. And let's see what Leyton can do here. I mean, does have some decision to be made there. Does have a switch card. Doesn't actually look like... Do they have a penny? I don't think I see a penny, actually. Oh. Is he going to do it?
They don't need the penny for a while, do they?
No, I'm going to get off with... Oh, well, they're debating whether to play the Avery there, Mike.
I think it would be a bit of a mistake, because it could open up access to those dark energy, which you could get.
Yeah, no, you are correct, but then we don't know how many of those dark packs have actually been discarded.
2 or 3. I mean, you could always get it onto the Galarian Moltres and then energy switch it, so there is ways.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not
I mean,
wrong.
there's still a lot to be done for Antoine. 5 prizes still remaining. I guess as the prizes start coming through, though, the options increase, as we know, all the good cards. 3 of the 5 prizes remaining are great cards that would be very useful on future turns. So taking prizes could quickly spiral the game back in Antoine's favour.
I think that was a Radiant Greninja off the top. Don't think we'll be seeing that, funnily enough. We just see a Forest Seal Stone coming down. Consult on the discard pile here. Yeah, these late game scenarios, you really have to be careful against control, because it honestly could take one wrong move and then the game will just spiral out of control.
I guess there's an element at this stage for Antoine of, like, what turn is the turn that Penny is going to be used? And at that turn, use the Iono and try and get it out of the hand and hope for the best. But another double
tails on the Silene, coming up with the Snake Eyes there.
Yeah, not really going in favour, those Silenes. That's 4 tails across the 2 Silenes.
Silene's having none of it. Silene's like, no, you leave me out of this, Leyton. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to get involved here. You can stick with Team Yell. Stick with them. They can cheer their way out. I'm just going to roll double tails.
And there's a pass there. As we see, the kind of board state right now is pretty much, can Leyton just reset the deck over and over again? That's going to be a penny there.
Yep, see a penny debating.
Was that a pass straight back or another motivate? I think it was another motivate, right?
Yeah,
I don't know if I saw the damage.
I think it was a motivate. I don't think it had 120 on us. We are going to see the Peonia, letting you look at 3 of your prize cards, put them in your hand, and then you have to put 3 back. So you're not actually taking any or changing the overall count, I should say. You can just use or liberate the 3 cards that you do take.
Yeah, they can go into your hand as well. It could be any card from your hand.
Yeah, any card from your hand. That's a fantastic point. So you can change them. And it looks like that is what Leyton is choosing to do.
Yeah, didn't find anything useful there. Just some ball search cards. The Nest Ball, the only one that's really viable towards the end of the game. So this is the first game here of our night round of Swiss. You guys have been watching along from home for Liverpool. You know, our largest ever regional, 1,505 players in the Masters division. And this is the winning-in stage. You see both our players here, 5-1-2, looking to try and make their way into that day 2. A draw won't do. They'll get some points off of it.
They will.
But they do want to be trying to continue their journey tomorrow. And at the moment, it looks quite in favour for Leyton in this current game, but it can very quickly turn around. As for those of you who are just joining, Antoine has 2 boss's orders and escape rope in the prize cards.
Yeah.
So each of those prize cards are very valuable right now.
But hasn't been able to liberate them as of yet, as Leyton did play a Misfortune Sisters, which did fail. So I'm not 100% sure how many items Antoine does have in the deck. We do see a basic energy getting attached to a benched Roaring Moon, and it's going to be another Motivate. That Squawk ability has been putting in the finest of work, Mike, because so far that Motivate damage has been sticking. Look at that, 160.
That Snorlax only holding on by the tether on that luxurious cape.
Yeah. Here we go, Misfortune Sisters. We're going to go 0 for 4 on the Misfortune Sisters here. Let's have a look, and yep.
Is there just no more items left in the deck?
I'm convinced there might not be any items left. Right, they've all been, well, I don't think a great deal of them have been used. They've just been forcefully sent to a discard pile via those Misfortune Sisters.
We're able to see how thin that deck is. I think it's about sort of 7,
I think 6, 7 in that ballpark. Yeah, maybe 8. It's not much more, though. I think Antoine saying, how many cards in your hand? The Iono could be being debated here.
Well, one judge been used, Palpad's gone, so the Iono is the only way to disrupt the hand now. My goodness, another Motivate.
180.
Penny at the front of that hand for Leyton.
It is, it really is. Oh, we see a counter catcher as well. You could counter catcher in the Moltres. You could. Very mean. I don't think there's any energy in the discard pile, so that Dire Flame Wings ability won't be able to get used, letting you grab a dark energy from your discard pile and attach it to the Galarian Moltres once per turn.
Right, let's just say hypothetically you've just been using a 20 damage attack called Motivate for 8 turns in a row.
Yeah.
Actually, at this point, 9 turns in a row.
Yeah, you're right.
And then your opponent...
No, I don't.
Pennies.
Don't. It sounds so horrible. Like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Because that penny is hovering at the front of Leyton's hand, ready to go.
I tell you what, you'd go from a very motivated Squawkabilly to a very demotivated Squawkabilly, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's coming. Oh, there's another one. Another penny.
Oh, I mean, penny for your thoughts. That's what I'll be saying to myself. Goodness gracious.
Surely soon the penny's coming down. You don't need to tease that Snorlax right down to the final hit points.
No, you don't. Could you say it could be time for the penny to finally drop?
That is outrageous from you, Shay.
Come on. I thought that was a good one.
No, it was amazing. I'm just jealous. You thought of it before I did. Get your best penny puns in chat.
Yeah, come on. Let's hear them. So let's have a look. How many cards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or 7, I believe.
I mean, the thing is, even if you do knock out that Snorlax, realistically... It's not going to be much that's going to happen after that. You will get the escape rope off the prizes, but at that point, you get another Snorlax and then what, you know?
Yeah, it's not like, it's the KO in this Snorlax. But, I mean, in all fairness,
there
you could take the escape rope. Oh. No, Antoine there doing a little bob and a jig. Thank you for that.
Waiting for the penny to drop.
Oh, dear. Yeah, that's rough. That's tough, but, you know, you had to expect it, right? When Leyton's hand was that big, chances of them not having a way to remove that damage is very low.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we're at now. Back on the Motivate hype.
Back on the Motivate train, Mr. Motivator, as it were, that Squawkabilly. I'll tell you what, Squawkabilly is trying his best. I'll give him that. Squawkabilly is trying.
I mean, interesting for Leyton, they do have the Crabominable and Water Energy. You guys might have seen that.
They do.
That is an interesting card to think about. You know, when you look at the Snorlax deck, it can sometimes struggle with not getting games finished. So having a card like Crabominable will help you accelerate that win condition against certain decks. As we see the last few cards of Antoine's deck coming into hand. We know there's an Iono there to reset the hand, so that's potential.
Oh, 2 cards left, Mike. We could see the trigger Avalanche here.
Oh, they're going for it.
Yeah, so we do see the Crabominable V come down, the attachment of the Water Energy. We're going to see a switch card, trigger Avalanche. Discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, and that means Antoine will not be able to top deck at the start of their next turn, meaning Leyton goes 1 game up here in our round 9. feature match at Liverpool Regionals.
And the INO was one of those last cards as well, so it wasn't even possible to reset the hand. But of course, the Crabominal coming through there, and Leyton showing a masterclass of how to navigate the matchup with Snorlax. But of course, Antoine had some tough prizes. It's important to reference that. Having a boss's orders early on will be key, which you can then get back in with the Pal Pad. And having both of them in the prizes really took away one of those key conditions to winning the match.
Nope, I mean, out of the 4 outs, I believe Antoine had 3 of them were in the prize cards, right? So might not have been a true representation of the matchup, but Leyton still had to capitalise on that and get that win. And Leyton is currently, well, 1 game away from his spot in day 2. Or, you know, currently, if this game 2 doesn't finish, there we see that lovely Meowth plush there with that Liverpool headband. We'll be in day 2 if this second game doesn't finish as well.
Oh, we love it. We love it here. And you see the little notepad as well. Something we see from a lot of the top players, taking notes of their prize cards. You can even take notes of what your opponents played, you know, sometimes useful information like that. And of course, it can be really important in a matchup like this to take your time, make sure you check what options are in the prize cards. Is it better this time? It seems to be better there. Both sides pretty fair. Just the 2 Dark Energy could be interesting later on. As we saw, you know, limited energy supply was becoming a bit of a problem in that game at some point. Otherwise, all of the outs to this matchup available.
I think you're having the 2 copies of Battle of our P pass there, and also you're probably not going to be playing that too often or at all even against the Snorlax block deck. So having them there in the prize cards is nice. As Leyton, Antoine opted to force Leyton to go first.
I think that's the way to do it. You know, Battle VIP pass in Snorlax tends to only be in a 1, maybe 2 count, just because it's a card you get off of Arven. Otherwise, you're going to be aiming to get those nest balls. So just the 1 Battle VIP pass for Leyton. So if you force them to go first, the chance of them finding it is super low, where typically you're only going to find those off of the Arven.
But unfortunately for Antoine, there was a nest ball, so we are going to see a Rotom V come down. Now there is a world in which Antoine can, you know, attach 3 energy and actually start attacking this next turn. It's possible via, you know, Professor Seda and energy switch, as we are going to see Leyton just playing that nest ball and then instant charge. Right, what can Antoine do? We are going to see a turn attachment of a gift energy. Okay.
And a pass. I guess in this matchup, you don't have to go down the typical Roaring Moon route of doing dark patches.
No, you don't.
Doing any of those kind of crazy setups, but you know, Sydney allows you to look at your opponent's hand and gain a lot of information, but while you're in there, you are allowed to discard some cards.
You can discard any 2 combination of special energy and stadiums, I believe.
And tool cards as well.
And tool cards as well, but that Sydney didn't hit anything. But we did get to look at Antoine's hand there, and I think it's just going to be... the hand knowledge is going to be fantastic for Leyton there. And Antoine, I think, with no other energy in hand, will just be starting to top deck. Or we're going to see the Erica's... Did we see it? Oh, yeah, the Raging Greninja was in that hand.
So that's Sydney giving the hand knowledge to being, okay, right, I can Erica's Invitation next turn, and I know what I'm going to see. Because typically it's a tough card to play.
It is.
We did see lure modules at one point in the deck. I think people have opted away from that because it was a little bit clunky. But now with something like Sydney, see the hand and then go, right, let's bring something into the active.
So did Antoine pass? I'm guessing Antoine had a turn and pass.
Must have, because otherwise it would have been Sydney and Erica's Invitation, right?
Okay, so let's see. That Erica's Invitation is so mean. And you look at your opponent's hand. If you find a basic Pokemon, you can pop it into play and force it into the active, meaning that Radiant Greninja can no longer retreat. And because there is no water energy in Antoine's deck, it cannot attack either.
Yeah, now, when I said at the start of this is a somewhat of an even matchup, I think the build that we see of Antoine has less switch options than some other builds, really opting into the energy switch style where you don't need to keep moving stuff around as much. You don't need to worry about having stuff on the bench as often because you can move it anyway. So, you know, just the 1 switch card, 1 escape rope. We've seen cross switches sometimes appear.
We have.
We've seen some builds leaning to Pokestops where you have a lot more switch outs then. But no, Antoine going to really struggle in this matchup with these kinds of starts.
As I was going to say, a pass there from Antoine. Doesn't want to do a great deal apart from attach energy and then try and get this Greninja out active. But just having it in play is so backbreaking because, you know, it's always going to get counter-captured. It's always going to get, you know, boss's orders even. So it's real heads-up play there from Leyton, using that Sydney and then using the Erica's Invitation afterwards as well.
Exactly. So this is the start Leyton wanted. I mean, after that last game, didn't see much outside of the switch cart, so won't be aware of the counts of the boss's orders or the if there is an escape rope in there. So this game, there could be some surprise factor for Antoine here.
I guess in theory, Antoine can go judge plus escape rope plus KO, and that could force at some point in the game. I'm not saying we're going to see that immediately, but we could see that being Antoine's way of getting back in the game.
I mean, even just attach on the Greninja at some point so that when you boss the Rotom up, you can just retreat it into whatever you want.
We are going to see Misfortune Sisters being played here. We're going to see switching cards. 3 Dark Patch.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Oh.
And an energy switch as well.
Wow, 4 hits. Leyton discarding the essentially top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. I mean, Dark Patch isn't going to be a card we see maybe get played, since we didn't see any energy hit the discard pile in game 1 because they were all in play, but it'd be nice to have the option at least.
Okay, and that Power Pad getting some important resources back in. I honestly, when you see a Snorlax Stall player playing it well, it is impressive what they are executing every single game. But you do feel for a player like Antoine, you know, getting onto the stream game, getting voted on by the community choice, and then is here having to play one of those tough old matchups where you're not doing much, you're just attaching and passing and drawing your way through your deck 1 card at a time.
I think top deck there was a judge. You have a basic energy in hand.
You've got basic energy in hand, you could start getting energies into the discard pile with the Greninja.
We are just going to see a pass though. So it's back over to Leyton, who's going to play that Poke Gear. Look at top 7 cards, grab a supporter, put it in your hand, only 1. So we are going to see the Misfortune Sisters, as we are going to see the Misfortune Sisters being played.
God, and let's really leaning into it.
Yeah, I mean, how many of them have been played? It's been mental, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect, though, in this matchup, because there is so many item cards in Roaring Moon decks. And, of course, as we mentioned, some important switching cards on this occasion. Earthen Vessel, Trekking Shoes, and one other there. But none of the switch cards.
Not yet.
But they're all cards that can help getting that Roaring Moon going, which is key.
Yeah, that is true. Like, the Earthen Vessel would have been nice there, just grabbing 2 basic energy out of the deck, but that is no longer an option. We are going to see Hisuian Heavy Ball being played there from Leyton. Then you look at your prize cards, fantastic knowledge in a deck where you're not taking prize cards. And then if you choose to, take a basic Pokemon from there as well.
So the thing is, last game we only saw 1 Snorlax get knocked out, and that was still so far away from the win condition.
Yeah, it was.
For Antoine here, having to not get 6 prize cards is so difficult, because they don't just chain. You don't just go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1,
no.
Turns back to back to back. You do have to develop that through vigorous moving of your Pokemon around with the escape ropes, using that boss's orders in the right time.
Well, I mean, even if you wanted to start attacking with your Roaring Moon, right, Calamity Storm only does, 100 if there's no staging to discard, so that's not even taking a prize card every turn. You can't use Frenzy Gouging, because you actually start KOing yourself if you used it 2 times. So
yeah, it's all right.
So it's like
why not?
Yeah, you would start carrying yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you was to use Frenzied Gouging too many times, you actually let Leyton win via prize cards.
I mean, if it got to that, that would be impressive. But if you keep the prize race even, Frenzy Gouging 1 Snorlax, Frenzy Gouging another one, they can't use those counter catches.
No, they can't. No, you are correct. No, that is true. As we are going to see Bravery... Oh, my, look at that. Absolute Snorlax army. Erica's Invitation. Is there going to be a hit off that? Oh, there's a Moltres Mike. There's 2 Moltres Mike. There's more Pekko Mike. You can have your choice of which one. Which one are you putting down? I think I'll be putting down more Pekko, personally.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
No?
Well, I mean, the retreat on the Morpeko is free with 1 energy, right? And Galarian Moltres is...
I think it's 2 or 1, I believe.
Yeah, I think...
But the Moltres can attach energy from the discard pile there. And that Morpeko is an
2,
awful attacker in this matchup. Like I said, having to move energy from itself. So,
I mean, 190 isn't great either. 190 is just short of 200, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Into the Rotom, it's all right, but Snorlax with a Bravery Charm is dead on 200. So 190 from a Galarian Moltres isn't ideal.
It's just, yeah, it's looking tough. At Erica's Invitation, quite honestly, I think... Because without the Erica's Invitation, your opponent can completely play around Snorlax, right? They can just not bench anything, and they can not discard anything, so you can't Echoing Hornet. The Erica's Invitation will then punish you for leaving Pokemon in your hand, since you can just force them into play. We're going to see that Giacomo being played off that Pokegear, discarding that gift energy as well.
He's just using all the different tools. A lot more tools in this deck being used in this game by Leyton than I was expecting, because I didn't think gift energy is not the most common thing you see in a Roaring Moon, but
no, it's not.
You know, that opened up the Giacomo, and then we saw the Sydney earlier on getting used. The full plethora of supporters being used, and that's going to be a Misfortune Sisters. We're going to see the Escape Rope or Switch card. I think Escape Rope might be in the hand. So I don't think we'll ever see that, but that looks to be just a Battle VIP pass.
Depending, do you even want to discard? I think you do. Since your win con is decking your opponent out, you might as well, you know, discard as many resources as you can when you can. But look at Leyton's hand, by the way. Look how big that is.
I mean, that's the part of the skill of the deck, isn't it? Knowing what's in your hand, knowing the resources, because you can't just fan it out like most decks and see everything there.
No.
You do have to sort of play it out. Will we see more tails for the Silene?
Hey, we see one heads this time. Okay. So normally if you're going to go for loop, you have to take Power Pad or Team Mail's Cheer. If you do get one heads, I should say, as Leyton does take the Power Pad.
Or just a draw pass. I'm using that Power Pad to get back the Silene, as well as the most useful supporter right now. Looking to get the Erica's Invitation back in.
Invitation, it's an interesting one. I think you've already, I would imagine you had enough Pokemon in play, but you know, Leyton thinking, right, let's get some more down. Let's make it as hard as possible.
Yeah, make it a challenge here. And again, this is going to be that turn for Antoine that we're going to watch out for. Last time it was the judge turn, wasn't it?
It was.
That was where Antoine tried to start making that aggressive swing. We might see something similar here, but just might need all of the combo pieces in hand before going for that judge turn.
That's what you have to do. You have to make sure you can spring the trap almost, as it were. You know, start trying to attack and then combine that with the judge and try and force Leyton, you know, to have those outs in hand. We are going to see the Misfortune Assist. Is that being played? Or no, that's Team Mail's Cheer, I should say. Letting you shuffle in 3 in any combination of supporters and Pokemon, I should say, but we're going to see 3 supporters there.
Okay, so Leyton just sort of in the loop now.
Yeah.
Got all the resources in hand, just looking to try and hold off Antoine from taking any prize cards. And then the moment prize cards start getting taken, that's when those counter catches become live and even more disruption can begin.
I think got to be careful here. Looks like which one of those are the deck and which one's the hand. Yeah, I mean, the big one is the hand. Just be careful. Don't want any mistakes to happen. And that's the discard file yet. Could be quite easy to make a mistake there. But we do see the pass over to Antoine. Antoine debating what to do. Just going to start the discard pile. Maybe has a dart patch. Nope, just going to see a pass instead.
My goodness. These final moments here. What's the plan? Are you going to look to start milling? You've got the Crabominable in hand, Erica's Invitation. Yeah, I think you've really just got to stick to those Misfortune Sisters and really try and remove any resource. I mean, Sydney as well is great for that.
Do you know what I quite like about the Sydney, right? Is that, you know, if Antoine wants to start attacking with the Roaring Moon, Calamity Storm needs to start discarding Stadiums to hit that big damage. And Sydney discards Stadium. So let's see if there are any Stadiums in hand. There's a tool. Just a tool.
Just a tool. I think there's 2 Boss's Orders in there, Judge, and Escape Rope as well. So the knowledge gained just from that is showing that the cards that were not seen in the last game.
Yeah, this is true. So you think, oh, Antoine does actually play Boss's Orders. I didn't see one last game. And let's see what Antoine does. Does have the Judge. No energy, though, of all things.
That's it. You need the attack with the Judge, really, don't you?
So we know that Erica's going to hit. Has a whole multitude of... Oh, no, Mike.
Time to motivate.
Score again. Here we go, folks. Time to feel motivated. We might be hearing a lot of that motivate. 20 damage. And attach 2 basic energy from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon. As we see 1 heads there on that Silene.
Whenever something says flip 2 coins and you get 1 tails, 1 heads, I always think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's, can't argue with that.
Yeah, same with Electric Generator. You get 1 energy, that's fair.
I agree, yeah. If you hit 1, we'll take that, you know. You can't feel too hard done by. You're not guaranteed by any means. Antoine's going to pass it over. We're going to see Power Pass going to be what, Silene, Team Mail's Cheer, or it's going to be for the Sydney, or that Misfortune Sisters.
So many options, so many decisions.
Yeah, here we go. We've got some motivation going on there backstage as well. As that Squawkabilly, well, hasn't actually used Motivate yet this game, but did a whole lot of it last game.
Okay, there we go. Misfortune Sisters, will they get the switch cart? That's the question.
Or Escape Rope even. I think that's still...
there's
a switch cart!
Oh, the Escape Rope's in hand, switch cart gone, so now...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
We've got Escape Rope, Boss's Orders, ×2 left, but the PAL pad would reduce the amount of boss's orders in the game too, so that's important. So we'll see what happens now. All an energy, so we can start building up the attack from Roaring Moon. And I think it's literally going to be Roaring Moon with 3 energy on, Escape Rope, Judge.
Yep.
Can you do it?
That's, I think, Antoine's game plan here, and I think that's all they can do. That Roaring Moon, Calamity Storm, plenty damage, especially if you have a stadium. If not, you could Frenzied Gouging just to start taking KOs and try and, attack with Calamity Storm at a later date.
I guess you'd start off, if you could, with a Calamity Storm.
Yes.
So that you can, that Roaring Moon would stick around for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Get the first one with Calamity Storm, then Frenzied Gouging, and then from there, see what happens.
As we are going to see an Arven fail there for Leyton, had no targets. We're going to see Power Pad being played. That's going to be Team Yell's Cheer and Arven. Interesting. I guess Arven could be used on the back of a Judge. Arven will be able to start searching out items there.
Counter catchers in particular.
Counter catcher, yeah. So we're going to see those shuffled in. And let's see.
No tools at this stage needed. They're all out in play.
Yeah, all the tools have done a fantastic job of getting those into play. We do see a basic energy, Mike. We think Escape Rope is in the hand. Judge is in hand as well, I believe.
Okay,
so
there we go.
Could start seeing the Roaring Moon or not. Okay, back over to Leyton, who does have the Misfortune Sisters in hand, but debating what to do.
I guess maybe the game plan would be to get an energy on the Squawkabilly, then boss up the Rotom, get the first knockout on the Rotom.
Right, yes.
Then do the Judge, so that off the back of that Judge, the draw is less available.
Yeah, that sounds like that make perfect sense, actually.
I think that makes the most sense,
It's going to be a pass over to Antoine, and it'll pass back to Leyton, playing hot potato with the turns there.
Because that turn is going to have to be big. The Judge turn is going to have to be big, so you want to make the most effectiveness out of it. I mean, at some point, Leyton might just penny up the Rotom to say, well, I'm not going to give you 2 prizes. You have to get through 4 Snorlax. Good luck.
Yeah, goodness gracious, could you imagine that? As we are going to see a pass back over to Leyton. It looks like debating to play that Silene. And here we go. Wonder what he's going to roll this time.
Okay, double tails.
Double tails. Silene hasn't been Leyton's best friend. I feel as if on this best of 3. Haven't seen too many heads there.
2 Pal Pad in the discard pile. Silene just been used. Team Yell Cheer will need to get back that Silene. We're getting quite close to breaking the infinite loop there.
We actually are, That's actually something we've got to keep an eye on. It is possible for the loop to fail. That would require a few tails flips on Silene, but we have been seeing a few of them already.
I mean, it's the Silene, right?
Yep.
That's gone. 2 Pal Pad. It's literally a Team Yell Cheer for the Silene back. If that Silene doesn't come through. I mean, this is just to make sure you keep your supporters. You can obviously use the Pidgeot V to keep recycling there. But yeah, the one more Silene away.
Let's see what does have a basic energy. So is this the turn? We see a boss. We're going to see a pay retreat. I think you're correct there, Mike. Here we go. Going to remove that draw engine, and it's going to be a Frenzied Gouging since there is no stadium in play. So 2 prize cards there being taken for Antoine. Doesn't get the Iron Oak, but does get a basic energy and a battle VIP pass.
Very good. First knockout of this game. We've been waiting a while for this. Antoine finally getting a knockout, but time as well is quite an important factor now. Just 2 minutes remaining here in round 9. And we see the counter catcher straight away getting that Squawkabilly up. But this is where we said about the next turn is going to be that potential Judge turn. But maybe we'll just see the same thing again. If the Rotom comes back down, just boss it back up, retreat.
That would be a bit cheeky, but I think you are correct. That is a perfect line of play there. We are going to see the Iron-O coming down there. Going to reset Antoine's hand down to 4, and Leyton will get a fresh hand of 6.
I guess the boss is going into the deck now, so
yeah, it does.
It's going to be a little bit harder for Antoine to find that.
What did they draw off that Iron? I can't quite see.
I mean, the Rotom's definitely going into Leyton's hand, right? Because it was one of those last cards.
Yeah,
so
it was.
There we go, and that will just set up that stable board state after that boss turn. So that was the counterplay to the Antoine play right there.
1-2 for Professor Sader's Vitality. Going to attach 1 energy to the Roaring Moon and draw 3. And here we go, motivate time, everyone. Get those wings a flapping. That Squawkabilly is motivating.
Okay, so Avery. There you go. That's your boy.
I got to see one. There we go. It was for 0 effects apart from drawing 3, but hey, I'll take it.
I mean, time is really running out here for Antoine. It is getting close to the stage where Antoine cannot physically take enough prize cards with the amount of turns left in play.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it is all in vain right now. Antoine tried to find a way out of this. The well-timed INO from Leyton was perfect to try and disrupt that hand whilst getting the Rotom back and available if needed. And there we just see a switch cart into a new Snorlax, as this will be the final turn for Antoine to start that race. But with 4 prizes to take and just the Squawkabilly in the active, and a Snorlax keeping it static, blocking it completely.
Doing its job all the way back there from Gen 1, block it. Oh, and you see the power pad going there as well, Mike. That's a good hit there from that Misfortune Sisters.
I mean, with infinite time for Antoine here, I don't even know how possible this would have been, but
no.
A valiant effort trying to work
there
through.
We go. We just see a concession there from Antoine, I believe. So Leyton wins our round 9 feature match here in Liverpool, secures himself a place in day 2. Congratulations to Leyton.
I mean, prime Snorlax gameplay right there from Leyton. Played it amazingly. You know, the prize is not ideal for Antoine in that first game. The second game just took a little bit too long to draw into all those resources that were required to get that comeback. And even then, Leyton knew it was coming, knew how to deal with it, knew how to disrupt in those final moments. So that is it. Leyton will be going on to day 2, and best of luck. I mean, there's a lot of Charizard out there, so good time to be a Snorlax player.
Yeah, most popular deck in the room. And I still want to say massive shout-outs there for Leyton, because even though Antoine did have, you know, unfortunate prizes, still had to pilot that perfectly to get the win there. You don't really get many easy games with Control, so you do have to close the door on every single one of them. And then maximum commiserations there to Antoine. Did all they could, I think, but unfortunately just wasn't enough.
It's great to have him on stream, though.
Yes.
I mean, from my point of view, I've heard Antoine's name mentioned so